Aloha ka kahiaka e nahau mana. This morning we're going to be reading the story of the promise of the tree shells. Kahuli is one of the names for the colorful little tree snails that are only found in Hawaii. They are also called pupu kanioi, which means the singing snails. In the beautiful forest of Hawaii, there lived tiny shells called kahuli. They were so named because of the curious ways they turn from side to side when they walk. They live in the cool branches of the hau trees and on the leaves of the tea leaf plant. They are beautiful little animals, snails of delicate pink, yellow, and green. Our story begins a long, long time ago before Hawaii was discovered by the sea captains of Europe. Legends tells us that these tiny shells inhabited the Hawaiian forest by the millions. It was the habit of the little shells to crawl down from their treetop homes to search along the mountain streams for a lovely fern called the akolea, with beautiful bright red blossoms. The blossoms was filled with sweet nectar, and they would eat and eat until their tiny, small shell stomachs were full. Then they would climb back up into the trees and fall fast asleep.
A day came when the animals of the forest looked out over the ocean and saw sailing ships approaching the islands. They began chattering in a most excited manner because they have never seen such a sight. The ships landed on the sandy beaches shores of Hawaii, and creatures of the forest were stirred from their afternoon naps by the sounds of loud, heavy footsteps entering their quiet land. What a frightening experience for all the living things of the woods. Cows, horses, and other large animals were coming to live in the Hawaiian forest.
At first, the little tree shells were too frightened to move or even make a sound. But soon their stomachs were so empty that they knew they must go once again to stream beds to search for the bright red akolea blossoms. But at last, they feared that if they left the trees and walked along the forest floor, many of them would be trampled under the hooves of the large animals. In great concern, they held council meeting of their elders high in the leafy treetops. The other animals of the forest could hear them saying, "What shall we do? What shall we do? We are so hungry. We have not tasted the sweet nectar of akolea for many days. What shall we do?"
First, the birds were sitting in the free branches and they listened to these sad words. They were the akolea birds who had shared many happy and carefree days with the tree shells. The birds cocked their feather heads and thought about the sad little shells. Little shells, said akolea. We are your friends and we will help you. We will fly down to the streams where the akolea blossoms grow and bring the sweet nectar to you. When the little shells heard, they were very excited and happy. Oh yes, our friends, the akolea birds will help us. We will no longer be hungry. Just then, a very old and very wise tree shells began to shake his head.
Now, before we ask the birds to do this for us, let us think of something we can do for them. So once again, all the little tree shells were silent as they thought and thought about doing a favor for the kolea birds. Then suddenly the birds in the shell heard a small squeaky voice coming from under a young tea leaf plant. As the voice grew louder and clearer, they were amazed to find that it came from the tiniest of all the tree shells.
Listen, everyone, said the tiny shells with the big voice. We can do something very wonderful for our friends the birds. We can promise to sing to them every night of the full moon. This pleases the kolea bird very much. They love to hear the sweet, thrilling notes of the tree shells as they sing and fill the forest air.
It is agreed, said the birds. We will fly down to the streams where the red akolea grows and fill our beaks with the sweet nectar. Then we will fly back to the trees and feed you until you are no longer hungry. In return, you will sing to us every night of the full moon.
When the akolea blossom heard this, they were very happy. They too were friends of the tree shells. They put their pretty little heads together and whispered in a low tone, "Let us put our brightest red dresses. It would be easier for the birds to find us among the green leaves."
When the birds flew down to the streams, they found many beautiful bright red acolea blossoms. After they sipped the nectar, they flew swiftly to the kahuli shells. It wasn't long before the kahuli shells, full of nectar, fell happily asleep.
Since that day long, long ago, the tree shells and the kolea bird have kept their promises. Every night of the full moon, the forests of Hawaii vibrate with the high trilling notes of all the tree shells singing to their friends, the kolea bird.
Yaku kahuli mai, kahuli le ulale akolea, kolea kolea ki ika vai, vai akolea, vai akolea, ooh, ooh.
Shit.
Yaku kahuli mai, kahuli le ulale akolea, kolea kolea ki ika vai, vai akolea, vai akolea, ooh, ooh. Okay, I just want to show you, Mana. These are the pictures of the kahuli. Okay, and then this is the fern, okay, that they would take the nectar from. And this is the kolea. You see this bird every day on our campus, okay? And the English word is the Pacific golden plover, okay? And as custodians, I'd like to introduce to you Randy, Jesse, and Moises. And we all say, Ahui ho!
Till next time.
Yes, malama pono. Take care. Aloha!
Aloha.
Aloha.